and the recording.
Good.
And I'll just double check that we're live on the Facebook. Okay, beauty. Yeah, we're live on Facebook, so we'll see who taps in there. So for anyone that is listening, thank you very much, or viewing today. My name's Dan Hendry. I'm very pleased to introduce Fabrizio Gramuglio and Peter Xing, both heading up involved with Singularity University in different parts of the world, and following on from a previous couple of interviews that Fabrizio has been part of, and Peter Xing, after a conversation we had just a couple of weeks ago about where I suppose the world is going with online learning and some of the stuff that Singularity University are doing with their events, which just one occurred over the weekend, which we'll talk about. So I'll let the guys sort of start to introduce a little bit more about what they're doing. Just a word of warning for anyone that is viewing today: if you are expecting something that's specifically structured, an agenda, you're not going to receive that. We're having a really free-flowing conversation, and in parts of this, I'm sure I'll be spectating because Peter and Fabrizio have a lot more interesting things they've been working on in this space than me. I'm purely the interviewer wanting to find out more like you are. So I think just given that Fabrizio was involved with the last one, I'll let him kick off, Peter, and then over to you, and we'll start that conversation. Fabrizio, if you can tell us more about what you've kindly invited me to be part of with the two platforms, your Experience Plus and the Generation Space, and just in general, what's been going on with Singularity. Maybe we'll keep the intros brief, do that quick round circle intro, and then we can go into more detail. Go back to you, Fabrizio.
Okay, so thank you a lot, Dan. Really appreciate to be here again with you and be here with Peter. We already have a very good warm up, and I think the conversation will be super funny and exciting as well. So what I'm up to, a lot of things, obviously, I mean, as probably anyone in this virtual room. Yeah, but as you mentioned, my mainly project at the moment are Experience Plus, that is, let's say, the first company around the Internet of Senses. And we are, let's say, pretty even modest, but we would like to say that and we are really want to make embedded and embodied experience real. We really believe in Internet of Senses and in coming brain-computer interfaces. And the other one, yes, it's more than an event. It will happen in 10 days, and it's called Generation Space, and we already start warming up about it. So basically what we did is to create a 6-hour event connecting all generation with space. It should be very inspirational and educative at the same time. We have more than 15 speakers at the moment coming from all the part of the world, and it will be tiring for sure, but also very, very exciting.
Nice. Look forward to hearing more about that. And I think over to you, Pete. What have you been up to, mate?
Yeah, thanks for organising, Dan, and thanks for Fabrizio. I look forward to that link as well. I'm pretty keen to get involved with that 6-hour conference. With myself, part of the faculty at Singularity U. I work as part of the advisory committee as well at Singularity Australia. So we're organising the summit in March next year, and Fabrizio and I were just mentioning some of the cool things we'll be looking to have there in virtual reality and space-wise. So really excited about that. I also work at KPMG in the Innovation Solutions and Technology and Ventures team. So we're looking at immersive technologies through pivoting for the physical spaces, and all our clients really can't come into the offices to look at all our data visualizations anymore. So we have to now look at ways to shipping out a virtual reality headset to them. And so this is going to be the future of work. And I'm really excited about the sort of reinvigoration in the virtual reality space. It's brought about, there's a silver lining of this terrible thing that's happening around the world.
That's right. Yeah, it's been an increase I've seen. So, righto. Well, like I said, my interest from the overview. Very keen to hear more about what's happened over the weekend with the event finished off in virtual reality. My interest around all of this is the workshops and online masterminds where people can come together and feel like they are together, similar to what you just said there. And really from a creative point of view, where my mission I'm working on is all about not making the big money. It's all about freedom and other people having that ability to be creative. And I think the virtual reality is going to provide that opportunity. And I know, Fabrizio, you've niched down with Experience Plus at the moment into the backstage VIP type experience with that platform. So maybe if you want to, have the microphone for the next 10 minutes, tell us more what you're doing. We'll then have some questions, and then Peter, over to you to do the same, and we'll come together at the end.
Yeah, sure. So, but basically what we are doing is what I mentioned at the beginning. So something new is happening, not only in the area of virtual reality, augmented reality, but in general, in the area of experiences. On one side, there are the kind of new economy that is called passion economy, that is allow people to monetize their own skills, sharing experiences with other people. On the other side, there's the Internet of Senses that is coming pretty fast, faster than expected, honestly. And it's kind of evolution from Internet of Things. So basically, what does it mean? That your next experience, that could be real in VR, AR, or any kind of reality or spatial web for the future, will not be only audio and video, but we are able to collect and transmit stimuli. And it could be obviously temperature, humidity, that's very easy, or taste, touch, and so on. So what we are doing is to create this platform and the protocol. And the last month we worked to basically, let's say, not work a lot on the platform for the fashion economy, so the Realix Plus platform, but we work a lot of the core, and we start working, creating an ecosystem of companies that could support the idea. And so, for example, we have now company that provides streaming platforms that integrate X Plus. And we are talking with the VR facility as well, because, you know, a couple of years ago, because I remember there was this fantastic report in 2017, and it says that everyone will have a VR devices in 3 years, but it didn't happen. It will take a bit more time probably. And so if we want to offer virtual reality, augmented reality, or any kind of reality that so far will need the device, the good idea is also to provide people the opportunity to rent it, or to find a place where could live a real experience. So in our ecosystem, we are trying also to tag local platform that is about sharing devices or helping people to find the right place, or virtual facilities. That's another great opportunity. So this is the job we are doing. We are working on creating, let's say, a backbone of companies that really believe that audio and video is very boring. I always joke, says that around 100 years ago, an Italian guy patented the audio inside a silent movie. You know, it's called Giovanni Rapazzo in 1917. After 100 years, we are still at the 2-dimension audio video. And so I'm always joking and says, maybe we need another Italian guy to broke this 2-dimension and add more dimension. Who knows?
The 3rd dimension of Italian guys, that's good. I'm really excited to hear about the work that you're doing at Experience Plus. You know, like some of the passions of mine is transhumanism and how do we transcend limitations of our human biology. And it sounds like what you're doing is essentially getting us into that direction. And ultimately, I want to hear more about the frank computer interfaces that we'll be working towards to fully immerse ourselves in that virtual world.
Yeah, I'm also keen to hear when you say that it's coming faster than what you think. I mean, maybe for some of the audience that they're completely oblivious to it even coming at all, what you just mentioned, how fast is it coming?
That's 2-dimension every time you talk about how fast. Obviously, 1 dimension is the technological dimension. So, for example, let's talk about the difference between 4G and 5G, 5G and 6G. So in terms of technological advancement, the jump we did from 4G to 5G is nothing compared to the 5G to 6G in terms of data, reliability, like another kind of stuff. And even in terms of how much time we will need to move from 5G to 6G. So this is pretty impressive. On the other side, obviously the dimension is, let's say, customer/marketer penetration. So as I said before, what happened for VR? We know that VR, AR in general, getting a lot of traction. But on the other side, we know there's a lot of fragmentation in the market, a lot of different devices. So one of the resistance point for sure is the the problem of the customer acquisition or the market acquisition in terms of devices penetration. The good part is that these, say, Internet of Senses devices like VR masks that allow you to smell the environment are already on the market. And so let's say that the Internet of Senses coming very silently in terms of maybe entering, starting with video games, but it's now a very huge market where people want more haptic devices, like haptic suite to feel what happened around them.
And I think, Peter, you made comments on our phone call the other day. You might want to add to that uptake of virtual reality through the, what was it you said, the integrated accounts for signups or the main?
Yeah, that's right. So that's on the software side. So Fabrizio, mentioned there's a huge sort of, I guess, abundance now of headsets and a variety of headsets, and they're starting to sort of align themselves with, OpenXR to have a single platform. So if you're developing on HTC Vive, for example, you can use the Oculus Rift platform, for example. But the software side of things is also seeing a lot of consolidation. And where we're seeing that is the HTC's Vive XR suite. So this is kind of like the Microsoft 365 of virtual reality. You think about, all your different apps that you have for your office. You've got Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. Well, in virtual reality, there's different apps for things when you want to socialize. So VR chat is one of the, the most people use to socialize on virtual reality. And so that's part of HTC's Vive Social now. So Vive Social is now rebranding by VR chat, and they're using a single sign-on so that you can go from VR chat to something like Engage VR for education to, I guess, Verbella if you want to go into a digital campus and have that campus style feeling, kind of like Fortnite. And, there's also like Vive Museum, which is the Museum of Other Realities. So you're pretty much using a single sign-on to go through all these different apps. And that was one of the barriers to entry of people that were new to VR, because you had to create another account for another app. And this allows you to embed a deep link on your calendar invite to say, hey, you want to hang out with me in VR chat? And you would just send an invite with the link, just like you would with email. And someone can click on that link, put their headsets on, and they'll be right in the same room as the other person. And that's something is really going to make it a lot more accessible for business and individual sort of personal users. And so, yeah, I think with VR chat and having, more than 20,000 concurrent users just recently, like it's starting to really hit that sort of knee of the curve. It feels like with the Oculus Quest headset, it's $299 US. So I've just got one that's got the Oculus link, and you get some free apps along with that. People are starting to say, well, why don't I just provide my employees with a laptop and a VR headset and not worry about their office space? This is something that can just be your standard employee onboarding process. And so at KPMG, we're exploring that in the Insight Center. At Singularity U Australia, we explored that for the executive program just last week, and using Verbella as a way to do our graduation ceremonies. And we've seen some LinkedIn posts and celebrations there. And it really gives you that congenial feeling when you're next to someone, and you really sort of want to opt in to talk to someone when they're next to you, as opposed to try to set up a Zoom call, separately afterwards. So really seeing that software side of things really accelerate.
And there's a lot of money going into what you were saying. And Fabrizio, let's focus on that for a few minutes in terms of what Facebook. I know last year they, for the Facebook, for the Super Bowl ad, they had Facebook groups. So they're really trying to bring condensed, people together that have that specialized common interest. Obviously, what you're explaining to both of you brings that together, that experience, and enhances that. And if they've got what they're doing and they want to keep people on the platform in these groups, which is their goal, how do you see that panning out with, I suppose you've talked about the longer term sound, color, extra sensory, Fabrizio, but even just everyone having a VR, it sounds to me like it's not far away from that becoming quite a mainstream thing. What would you say is the timing? And can you elaborate more on what you know with what Facebook are doing?
Facebook example is good, but if you're looking for something more crowded, I think you should start looking at what happened on Fortnite, even if it's not yet VR. But I mean, if you're talking about virtual community that join together, even for a concert, and when you put millions of people online, it completely destroyed the Facebook example, because the number of people who join cross-platform, very easy to download, very easy to play. And again, cross-platform, that's the secret probably, because
Yeah.
I totally agree with it. I have enough. I mean, I have my own VR devices, obviously, because I'm at the end of the day a nerd, so I love to buy the latest technology and spend money for something that we probably will know anywhere. But I'm very tired, for example, to jump from one platform to another. So that's a very big problem. And I love to hear that, for example, Single Sign-On and also software will try to find a way to, let's say, have a common, how can I say, common layout or common language where we will develop things. So community are growing in VR, and that's very good. Verbela is a very good example. I'm a very huge fan of High Fidelity, for example. That is an amazing example where you can just create your domain and start creating things. I have been in a lot of party with thousands and thousands of people for the crash tests, and that's a very great example. It also offers object manipulation. It also offers the ability of the camera to see your face and project your expression into your avatar. So things are moving dramatically fast on the, say, on the software side. On the hardware side, I have to confess I'm not 100% so very trustfully as you are, because yes, there's Google Cardboard, but if you ever try Google Cardboard and you tried an HTC device, you know the difference. But the problem is that if you want to buy the latest super augmented reality thing, like, I don't know, the Microsoft one, you have to be ready to spend a lot, something like a couple of thousand of euros. And when I think at something that everyone has, for sure it will be not the Microsoft thing. That is so far totally unpopular for the price. So if you're thinking about the idea to have a community or to have a very large impact on the population and offer them the ability to really destroy any kind of barrier, because at the end of the day, X Plus is the goal, say the MTP behind X Plus is really remove any kind of barrier, economical, geographical, time barrier, and teleport people inside other people's body to have experiences. And so if I should think that, okay, but it will cost you 4,000 euro of device, that's not really what I'm looking for. So there's still a lot to do. Oculus, I think, is working on the right direction. There's a lot of devices that are working on, and yes, and the market is getting crowded. So I hope soon we will have, let's say, for the same price of mobile, we will have both mobile and VR. So we will have one device, and soon, thanks to brain computer interfaces, we will not have devices more. And the price will be really affordable for anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, the brain computer interface should definitely come with your private health insurance or public health insurance eventually as well. Because
that will be amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, Peter, you want to extend on it all with your views there?
Yeah, I think Fabrizio is absolutely right. And I think with the Quest 2, for example, you know, it's $299 US, but if Facebook uses that same business model that they do with their social media, essentially that headset's going to be free at some point, and you are the product, because whatever you look at becomes your marketability and the data that they collect. And so for people that want to access virtual reality for free and they don't care about their data, that's the one way that they're probably able to do it. And with the brain computer interface, that's going to be really creepy if it's Facebook branded, clearly. But I think with something like a Neuralink, you know, if it's got this tertiary layer and you know that it's, you know, essentially a digital agent for you, it's the tertiary layer over your cortex, so that way it interoperates between your cortex, just like our cortex interoperates with our sort of limbic system. And that way we actually can trust in this digital super intelligence that's acting on our behalf, this digital agent. That's probably the future we want to live in. Otherwise, we'll be all part of this sort of hive mind of Facebook, Oculus connected devices, and we won't really have much control of what we consume, right? So you're on mute, Dan.
Yeah, and on there, like, what are your views? We've obviously seen recently with the, I'm just getting a mental blank with the Facebook, the social dilemma, right? We've got people that have developed these different technologies that now are going, what do we do? We've got people out there, there's two sides of the fence, there's so much abundance and opportunity. The thing that's always concerned me looking at the innovation is who's in charge and who's controlling that as a regulatory body of how that's affecting. I mean, Fabrizio, we've got a call next week with visible internet technology to look at, you know, they're helping with in schools how devices are affecting the learning of children and what have you, and the mental health that comes from their online behaviours. So I'd be interested if we could focus maybe a little bit on that evolution that we're going through, and how do we balance the pros and the cons and of this type of innovation. Over to you, probably Fabrizio, if you want to get started.
Yeah, first of all, you probably know I'm a very big fan of any kind of framework for AI regulation. Not for the regulation itself, obviously, but I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of, see recently the ethical OS. If you wish, I can share a screen with you.
Yeah.
Just a second to show you what is. Nope, I need your permission.
Okay.
I'm a very low level employee. I can't share it.
Should be right now.
You know, I'm joking. So this is the website of the Ethical OS. That is very great. And if you don't want to read the whole website and what is behind it, I mean, this picture is already perfect. But so we need rules. Because you know better than me, now with AI, there's a lot of problem in terms of bias and even in terms of wrong science behind it. I mean, probably one of the classical example I do when I talk about ethical AI is an example of a company that is going on selling software and AI services that is basically take pictures of your face and using the simple muscular map with normal SVG map with points on your face. It tried to combine your physical aspect with your inner behavior. And basically, you know that this kind of science is called phrenology. And more than 200 years ago, we decided it was not science. So the point is, and it's already on the market. So the problem is, putting everything on the market, it shouldn't be allowed, especially when this software should or can affect people's life. One of the risks with this big surveillance thing, the profiling, and even the case you reported about a social dilemma about, say, the dopamine example that you will find exactly here, addiction and dopamine economy. It's something that should be somehow controlled. It's the same thing we did with, let's say, a pharmaceutical company, the same we did with, in some case, with guns and so on. Everything, and now AI is a perfect example, everything that should limit or affect people's life in terms of freedom, it should be somehow regulated. And that's good because a lot of countries now have, are developing a very big ecosystem, a big framework in terms of ethical AI. Another good point that Peter mentioned before is data agency. Data agency is one of the pillars of ethical AI. So you are the owner of your own data. You should control how your own data flows away. That's very important.
It's a really cool framework. Thanks for sharing that, Fabrizio.
And you want to elaborate a little bit on that point, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, I think a social dilemma was like a nice summary, but I think a lot of people pretty much have gone through that conversation. They watch it just to, relive it again. And then they go back to their social media accounts and just treat it as if nothing happened, right? And so it just feels like people are starting to become, I guess, almost comfortable with this, or that they don't care. It feels like in China, there is no sense of privacy because they weren't raised with that sort of notion. Like, even historically, with the Confucian days, many people used to live in the same household, so the notion of seeing each other naked wasn't a thing, and it's almost like it was, the privacy wasn't quite. But as they lived out, the younger generations are starting to push back. So I think there is a fine, just like a balance between usability, usefulness, the practicalities of it, and then ultimately, what are you giving away? And so I think we're starting to see a lot of people be comfortable with giving away that data on Facebook and things, but at the same time, they want to they will draw a line between ultimately what they do see, full transparency wise. I think in the future, when we are looking at, I guess, our digital identity and how that can have that agency, as Fabrizio mentioned, that's going to become more and more important, which is why we really need that digital agent that is acting in our best interests constantly without any sort of third-party technology company that owns it. So whoever can invent that is going to be a huge market opportunity, because you would pay for that once off for subscription, right? And that price that you're paying is the full value of that digital agent. And that digital agent is constantly negotiating for you, whether it's your information or your data rights and all those sort of things. But at the same time, that it's almost like your lawyer online, right? It has a fiduciary duty to act on your behalf. So that's what I'm really excited about. Whoever pulls it off, I'll be first to sign up.
I think that's a good little segue into sort of mainly maybe some of the business operations and I think marketing potential experiences. I mean, experiences are the things that sell, and in any of my sales experience, it's really initiating that, engaging with that emotion in someone. And a client or a colleague of ours in one of our programs has built a really well-performing ad for one of the biggest car companies in the world around, and that was a virtual reality type experience, and that was their best performing ad because people could feel what it's like in the car. So yeah, I think for the next 5 minutes, let's focus on how you see that the business environment. I mean, you're touching up with the engagement with Zoom and conferences, but I think if we can combine a bit of that, maybe with your thoughts on a marketing experience type of view, where you see those two areas going, that would be very interesting. Whoever wants to start, you put your hand up and jump in. Over to you, Pete, by the looks of it.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's just just thinking, putting the Quest on, and you have your home view of everything. Right now there's Cyber City, right? So it looks like Cyberpunk 2077, and there's buildings, outside your window. You're like living in a city apartment with flying cars coming through. And you know what? You look outside and there's like a cola sign, right? It's not Coca-Cola. It's just placeholder for whatever you want to market. And the cars that are flying through, it's just, standard generic cars, right? It's not marketed or anything. So, all of that is just building the canvas for all of the infinite real estate you'll be able to get in virtual reality. You no longer need these billboards, just like on the internet, everything is a billboard. But in virtual reality, you can actually feel that sense of immersion. And with Fabrizio's business of, creating that extra experience, you'll be able to taste and smell and actually feel materials in. And look at Fortnite, it's a free game. Everything is just buying skins. And what that means for retail, when you're essentially buying all these digital goods, you're experimenting with it in virtual reality initially, but then you can actually have the physical version ordered online through Amazon as well. And that's where the gloves and the haptics really come in handy, because you want to be able to feel what that handbag feels like. Not that I would buy a handbag, but probably more like a try out some of the latest PCs, something like that. Feel the real force of the new GPUs from NVIDIA or an AMD. Like, see the fan spinning onto your chest or something like that. But Tesla suit and the gloves and all the haptic experiences really helps that buying, purchasing behavior. And if you can bring the smells to it, Fabrizio, it's gonna be a no-brainer, right?
No, I agree. I mean, for sure it will change everything, especially if you think about the so-called spatial web or mirror world as wide defined. So when we will have the double reality, co-living, so you will have a layer of data permanently in front of you. So everything will change for sure. And again, we should be pretty, let's say, sure that if we will not regulate, we will be overwhelmed by flashing things and moving things in front of us, and it will totally distract us. But I love your idea about the agent that will try to mediate even between the two realities, where you can really, hey, this is what I want to see today because this is my mood today, this is my need. So do your job, show me what I need. That will be great. That will be absolutely needed also. Love it.
It's
When we will
fulfilling a real
start to
need.
work on that.
Yeah, exactly. Fulfilling a real need, but making things that you never knew you needed in the first place. It's just like, why am I buying all these things?
Yes, that's a very good point.
But what's really cool, like the augmented reality side also there's a lot of opportunity because, you know, the physical spaces, there's going to be, I guess, a winning platform that everyone, you know, opts into. So there's going to be one spatial web that people essentially adopt. And that's going to be probably offered by Apple or Facebook. So you're either an iOS or a Facebook OS sort of Oculus platform in their, you know, Project Aria, right? Kind of like creating their AR view of the world. So depending on which platform you're using, you're going to see different things. So if all the people at the office are using Apple, yeah, that's right. You can, you know, create all these beautiful workplace themed, you know, artifacts that are holograms essentially in your visible spectrum. And then there's the Facebook users, they'll be able to looking at different things. So you'd be on the street and people will be pointing at things and then you'd be like, that's not compatible with my operating system. Or that created that digital divide, not almost like a sort of a segregation of different people. So it's like platform wars to the extremes of almost changing their realities. And you think it's bad enough as it is in the US, maybe, where they're essentially literally thinking that the news that they see every day is different depending on which political spectrum you're in. Well, this is going to create an entire more divisive view of the world if that's used in that particular instance. So I'm really keen to see an open source version that dominates rather than the closed ecosystems and walled gardens that's been proposed by Facebook and Apple for augmented reality.
Yeah, I think what I'd love to segue into is we talk about sort of the marketing and what have you, and just the general experience is the experience platform and the conversations we've had. Fabrizio, you know, what I'm eager to get involved with moving forward with that platform. I think with COVID, you know, I know there's a couple of organisations that set up online streaming for musicians. I know with my music studio, I had, there's a few people that, just the general background of them, they're a bit against technology innovation, being creative, wanting to go down that road, which is fine. But then there's a switch that happened, obviously being forced, like no pubs are open, no restaurants to go and have a gig at. And I know there's been some really cool work being done with mixed reality, with online gigs, with some really cool artists and putting good money into that production of that experience. So if we can both talk about that and maybe at the same time like be showcasing a little bit of what you're doing with the experience and the backstage experience as well, because I mean it's very difficult in general circumstances to get backstage with your favorite artists, but if people can have that experience, that's phenomenal for a lot of aspiring artists and just interested audiences. So tell us more, Fabrizio.
Oh, yes, as you mentioned, I mean, there's a very big, also there's a lot of big players that are now jumping on streaming concert. But if you ever join one of these concerts, you will find this experience very frustrating because at the end of the day, you're watching a screen. It doesn't matter how many money we spend because at the end of the day, you will watch a flat screen. I mean, one of the best examples was the Coldplay concert. It was an amazing production, really an amazing production with a kind of million of users, less than Fortnite again, but that's another example. But, okay, that was nice. A lot of wow things happening around you, but at the end of the day, I was watching a movie. And so it's what we are trying to do is a bit different. So we are not working on the main stage for big, because we are not big. So it's a very big struggle to be on the main stage. But we are working on the experience of the concert. As you say, I mean, as you say, the experience is different. Is when you go to the venue, you stay in the backstage, you meet the artist, and you go to the restaurant, or even you travel with them from one location to another. And so you feel the life of the band, and even for private small concert, even for let's say the testing session and so on. it's a completely different market, and also it's a completely different goal. And the good part is that, let's say, it's more democratic as well, because you can share the experience with a lot of people, and it's the band that decide the price of the ticket. So, for example, some bands could decide, okay, I will give it for free the opportunity to make the travel with me and talk with me during when I'm in my tour bus and I'm going from location A to location B.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's a bit different from the standard concert. We are not aiming to the standard concert. We honestly aiming to give fan real experiences. For concert, I will let big players at the moment try to divide the market.
That'd be awesome. Oh, so you're on mute, Dan.
Oh, yeah. I've got dogs going off in the background, everyone. Anything to add to that, Pete?
Yeah, no, the concert's definitely, I mean, I feel like people are just sports starved, they're concert starved, they're art starved. It's, I guess they really need a break, right? There's so much pent up savings right now, because of people who have not been going out. And so as soon as an opportunity comes out for that discretionary spending, any excuse to actually get that experience of, being outside almost again. I think if we can actually find the right opportunities there, especially with your community day, community entrepreneurs, how do we create the same, almost, close to identical experiences as within the physical world, whether it's helping the tourist market, helping these art galleries, helping out these concert makers. Well, I'm surprised Fortnite hasn't just hit the accelerator on their virtual reality offering, because the CEO was on Bloomberg talking the other day and saying, well, Fortnite is not a game. It's a platform, a community of people that want to actually get together and do things. And so what's stopping them? I mean, Epic Games, it's not like they're undercapitalized, right? Why is it taking so long for it to offer something like a virtual reality offering? Is it because of the incumbent technology? Is that why the innovation makes it much easier if you're building something new rather than changing the old? Because we saw that with Second Life. That's why they created High Fidelity and then sold that and then focused back on Second Life. But is it because that underlying technology is so much legacy system, just like we experience with the banks that can't innovate with fintech? Because of all those legacy systems, it's too hard to try to change that. Because to build something in VR, you might have to create, a separate infrastructure on top of that. But yeah, I find it very challenging that they haven't done something like that yet. But hopefully soon.
I think my argument to some of the artists that I was dealing with then is like, it's not so much trying to replicate that live experience, because for me, nothing will beat that, being with your friends live, jumping up and down and enjoying the energy. But to reach an audience that you might not be able to reach, and especially recently, has proven that it's definitely an idea, whether it's a sales funnel or a sales mechanism to create that audience. It's essential if you want to monetize your music and your artistry. If you're not doing music and it's something else, I think it's imperative. Fabrizio, did you want to explain a little bit more about, we've got, just a maximum of 20 minutes left. So we're free flowing from here. I've really enjoyed the conversation. If you want to show more of your platform or talk more about Generation Space, we're talking about visible internet and educating kids next week. Tell us more what you're doing and think about that in the meantime yourself. Peter, anything you want to bring up? Let's free flow from here.
The last thought will be about what you just mentioned. I mean the opportunity we have today to create something new. I see there's a nice question in the chat as well, but I mean, what we have now is a lot of technology and a lot of opportunity to create new, let's call it experiences, and also new business model. I mean, also one of the goals we have is to create something that could be very rewarding for anyone. So if we are capable of creating a good ecosystem and sell experiences, and experience could be everything from joining a good business model session or join Dan in his crazy brainstorming when he paint all his walls with a lot of things. So that's very good. But I think now we have the tools even to create something together. And so I love when Peter says what restrain people to adopt these new tools. Probably, but that's, I think I mean, as a group, as entrepreneur, we need to spend a bit of time to educate them what will be the real opportunity, both in terms of opportunity of, let's say, get rewarded, both for money or with, let's say, visibility. And on the other side, the opportunity to create something that is not the usual, hey, I'm going online to see, as you mentioned, the latest star doing some stupid things or dancing at some music. I mean, what's your benefit for you at the end of the day? So I think the problem is to educate people. You could be part of something where you start gaining value and getting money. This is probably the hardest part today, and even is the most inspirational one, and probably the easiest to communicate.
Money talks.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking about, we're working with these guys on a concept called white mirror. So it's like the opposite of Black Mirror, right? You want to create a utopia, not just create a whole bunch of cliffhangers where people are scared of technology. So we've been working with some VR artists and building out what a white mirror transmedia solution might look like. It's going to be an anthology series. And so, the first episode is called Memories, where the virtual reality headset is gifted by a granddaughter to the grandmother, and actually brings back a memory of when the grandfather was still alive and they were, smelling the roses on their front porch, and she remembered when he asked her what coffee she would like. That's that sort of positive light that we can bring of what technology could be, rather than what Black Mirror did, which is, relive the same memory every single time whenever you have a bad relationship or something like that, right? Or the Every Moment of You episode. And so with White Mirror, we're developing this thing on virtual reality in alt space. So it was part of the Burning Man VR world in 2020, where the entire Burning Man happened in VR. And alt space, there's a guy by the name of Brian Crowitz, and he's built out the Unity Sanctuary. So it's on the desolate desert in Burning Man, and essentially built out all the different concepts, including Chinese, which is his wife's concepts around feng shui, and all these bakwa that's surrounding it, and having that sense of Zen. And he wants to also make that a haptic solution, so that people can actually, touch things in the virtual reality and get that same sensation, and convert that with NeuroSky, the brain-computer interface, to get that feedback. And so all of those projects, you're right, at the end of the day, how do we make that look like it's that business case can come through in business models? People would people pay for those experiences? Would people actually, instead of going to Burning Man for real and, suffering through no bathrooms and things, would they do this in virtual reality and still get that same sense of, adventure, right, and journey, which is really what we need to get that through, that same level of experience. So yeah, maybe the haptics will do it, something that can come with the ticket, embedding the headset, the haptics with the ticket, because that market, the entertainment industry, it really needs it right now. They couldn't be any better time to offer something like that.
Dan, you're in mute. I don't know if you want to know, but by the way, let me just recap quick. What you say is exactly when you're talking, I was thinking about, yes, when the next big event about VR, we need to create a ticket where we ship them a device. This could be obviously a cardboard or Google, something like that, but that's exactly what I was thinking when you're looking, and you say that. So absolutely, we have to do it. I mean, we have to talk about it in terms of creating a very big event about VR where we invite people to touch the VR environment. And yes, Dan, you should help on the marketing part as well.
Yeah, I mean, people pay thousands of dollars for these tech conferences, and often on the corporate budget. So if they can get to keep something in return as well afterwards.
Yes. And also, as I said before, collecting and connecting the all virtual facility, VR facility all around the world, it will be great because it will bring them people. And so they get monetized as well because they can offer devices. So it could be a very nice way to, let's say, kick this thing a bit more practical. Let's get people touched the headset and other kind of stuff. So it will be
get them to sweat in it. Get them to sweat in their VR headsets.
And all I was saying before when I was talking on mute was any audience questions, shoot them now, because I think we'll be wrapping up. And if there's any last golden nuggets, guys, feel free to. I'm just checking on the Facebook with any questions at this stage. So, look, I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation with, the innovation masterminds around, the way to build business models in general and focus down on the individual technologies. And I think given that there's been 2 interviews, including this one, in this type of environment with alternate experience, augmented mixed reality, virtual reality, that I think me from a creative point of view, it's where my interest lies, and with the masterminds and the business and potential for sales funnels and those experiences, I'm wanting to continue that conversation. So yeah, let's set up that mastermind and continue having an ongoing conversation and bring maybe the initial audience in that can help us head up an event of that nature, and let's put it together. 100%. We all know enough people and other people do. So let's go for it, guys.
Good plan, Dan.
Any last words of wisdom? Any nuggets relative to today?
Yeah, really look forward to the upcoming events that Fabrizio mentioned and the masterminds. And yeah, we got plenty of planning to do for the summit as well. So in March in Australia. Yeah, so looking forward to collaborating across the on the other side of the world. And we're trying to bat above our way down under right here, and especially in space. So hopefully we can look to help make some launches happen. For the dark side that you haven't covered on this side of the Earth. So.
And I'll do what I took myself on mute. Excuse the kids in the background if you hear them, anyone. But can you just, before we go over to Fabrizio, do you want to let people know how to get involved with some of the things that you're doing, Peter?
Fabrizio?
No, over to you first, Pete.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to get excited about the summit that we're all planning all around the world, and Australia is on the 23rd of March. So just Google Singularity U Australia Summit, and yeah, we can check that out. It's going to be at 10 different locations all over Australia, and it's going to be digital as well. So it's going to have that hybrid model. And so you'll be able to go into somewhere physical and experience the activations we curate, but also hear the talks online and join anywhere around the world. So we're going to have some film pre-recordings in virtual reality and some live networking sessions in VR as well. And so, yeah, really sort of juggle it up and try out a few new platforms, including Spatial, which we didn't get to mention today. But yeah, that's got some great integrations with Office 365 and Google G Suite. So Spatial, very compatible with HoloLens and virtual reality headsets. It's feeling like it's going to be a winner in the collaboration space. So hopefully check that out.
Look forward to learning more, 100%. And over to you, Fabrizio. Tell us how can people, what should they get in touch? And
I will join the event.
Yeah.
Lovely. No, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Conversation was very nice. And yeah, I think we will ping each other on the relative channels to move on. Yeah, the latest thing, yeah, the next event for me, as you know, it will be in 10 days, 4th of December. It will be more about space and connecting the new generation with space, because at the end of the day, we will be the first colonists of Mars, maybe. So it's very important to educate and inspire them currently. And also space, better than me, it's a very big business opportunity. So we will have a lot of representatives of different space agencies as well, private company, but trying to push the space exploration forward. That's all for me.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you so much for attending and providing your value, guys. Look forward to continuing the conversations. I can't see any questions in the open chat at this stage, either online. So I think we can hang up, so to speak, and look forward to continuing the conversations moving forward and attending both those events. And for anyone listening, I'll be posting some links to both what Fabrizio and Peter are up to, so you can find that easy enough. And look forward for many more interviews and snippets of our masterminds coming up moving forward, because we're ramping things up, and look forward to providing you all with value, and for those that can contribute to what we're doing, getting involved. So thank you very much, guys, and for anyone watching, and thank you, Fabrizio and Peter.
Thank you.
Great
Bye,
connect,
guys.
Thanks for organizing.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Catch up next couple of days, guys. Cheers.